The 10 fastest sinking cities in the world. 45% of China's important cities are facing this risk. Tianjin might become underwater in 60 years. The country ranking first has already started preparing for total migration. Top 10, Venice. Venice, Italy's water city, has always been a popular destination for global tourists. This city's canals crisscross, looking as if it's floating on water, thus called the floating city. Don't be fooled by its romantic appearance. Venice is actually facing a major crisis. It's slowly sinking, and the problem has existed for a long time. This was originally a sparsely populated marshland. People seeking refuge from war drove millions of wooden piles into the marsh, embedding them deep into the mud, slowly building this city. But over time, they discovered this foundation wasn't stable. By the mid-20th century, scientists realized Venice's sinking problem had reached a very serious level. An important cause of this phenomenon is that, for a long time, residents had drilled many wells to extract water. These wells continuously drain groundwater, making Venice's underground structure increasingly unstable, causing the ground to collapse. Although since 1962, the government, to alleviate the crisis, gradually closed all wells, but the city's sinking trend could not be reversed. In the past, Venice sank a few inches every 100 years. In recent years, due to climate change, the sinking speed has become increasingly frightening, sinking about 1 to 2 centimeters annually. Plus, the global sea level is continuously rising. The situation will become even worse. From 1872, when records began, until now, the sea level here has risen 30 centimeters. Experts predict, by 2100, Venice will likely be completely submerged. This is not alarmist talk. Venice today is already suffering from the dangers of high tide. In the most severe cases, 80% of the city becomes unwalkable. And with sewage backflow, the entire city reeks of a strong fishy smell. If you want to see Venice before it's completely submerged, one last time, remember not to choose days with high tide for your visit. Top 9, New Orleans. This is Louisiana's largest city and America's second largest port city. New Orleans is located at the Mississippi River's mouth. Many traditional cultures originated here, but now this city faces a devastating disaster. Increasingly fierce hurricanes constantly threaten this southern jewel. 150 years ago, it was America's wealthiest city, but in recent years, it has repeatedly lost to floods. Its seemingly advantageous geographic position is leading it toward destruction. Lake Pontchartrain to the north, Lake Bourne to the east, and the vast Mississippi River to the south. Global warming has increased both the number and intensity of storms. New Orleans' water level rises yearly. More critically, most of the region's land area is even lower than sea level. It's like a bowl. Once floodwater enters, it's difficult to drain out. The only drainage method is pumping, and low-lying areas can take up to a month to pump dry. This also causes the originally swampy underground structure to become increasingly unstable, continuing to sink at about 2.4 centimeters annually. New Orleans' disappearance is just a matter of time. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina struck. The storm swept across New Orleans. 200,000 people became homeless. Economic losses reached $80 billion. 3-story buildings were submerged to their roofs. Until 2009, New Orleans still hadn't fully recovered from Katrina's destruction. According to statistics, 160,000 people fled and never returned. Residents who still remain in their homes have begun trying to build houses on stilts, hoping to resist flood damage. But ultimately, this is old wine in a new bottle. If the next storm is more violent, the houses will still collapse. Scientists predict, by 2080, all of New Orleans may be 4 to 5 meters below sea level. A single flood could completely submerge the entire city. What might save the city is perhaps only the proposed floating city plan. After all, rather than fighting a losing battle, it's better to do something bold. Top 8, Manhattan. Can you believe? Manhattan Island, called the heart of New York, in the near future, also faces the risk of being submerged. But what threatens the city isn't just the gradually rising sea level, but also the enormous weight of over 1 million buildings. Yes, this sleepless city is slowly being compressed. In Earth's Future Journal, a newly published study emphasizes New York City's buildings weigh an astonishing 7.6 billion tons, equivalent to 140 million elephants. This massive weight pressing on the surface causes it to sink at about 2 millimeters annually. Though this may seem negligible now, the accumulation over decades is concerning, especially in areas with softer soil. Manhattan Island's situation is most severe. This small island of about 60 square kilometers has such high building density. It's truly staggering. It's the smallest of New York's 5 boroughs, and also the most central. Called the world's financial mountain, Manhattan Island is surrounded by water, running roughly north-south. Famous Central Park is located in the middle of the island. Initially, the US government chose this location for major development because its underground bedrock, mainly composed of schist and granite, provides an ideal geological foundation for skyscrapers. But unexpectedly, in recent years, US Geological Survey research shows the island's sinking speed is increasing annually. Causing this phenomenon isn't just its high-density building clusters, but also its massive population. Huge population means enormous water usage. Excessive groundwater development is also an important factor in urban subsidence, CNN points out. The sea level rise rate around New York City is more than twice the global sea level rise rate. Therefore, many scientists urge, without control measures, in 100 years, New York could become America's Venice. TOP7, Tianjin, China, as one of the world's most populous and rapidly urbanizing countries. China cannot remain unaffected in this global crisis. Peking University published a research paper in April 2024, showing 45% of China's major cities are facing subsidence risks, with Tianjin's situation being most severe between 2015 to 2020. Tianjin's sinking rate reached 5.2 centimeters annually, ranking first in the world. Notably, Tianjin's elevation is only 5.5 meters. At this rate, in 60 years, Tianjin could become underwater. Additionally, Chinese cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Ningbo, and Fuzhou face sinking rates of 3 to 10 millimeters annually. An important cause of this widespread regional subsidence is the special geographical environment of the southeast coast. These cities, mostly located on alluvial plains and river downstream areas, these alluvial plains are characterized by soft soil, like a fluffy sponge, easily deformed under pressure. And with river sediment accumulation, soil layers also compress each other, causing ground subsidence. Additional tectonic movements along the southeast coast also cause subsidence. This is understandable. Each earthquake causes geological structure deformation, followed by soil liquefaction. Simply put, sand saturated with water under earthquake effects separates into water and sand, causing foundations to lose bearing capacity. Additionally, with rapid economic development, mainland exploration of underground resources has deepened. Large amounts of groundwater and various mineral resources are continuously extracted below ground. Without these important resources filling the space, underground cavities form. Soil layers cannot support massive surface buildings, accelerating ground subsidence. Now, the mainland government has begun paying attention to this irreversible disaster phenomenon. Many areas are forbidden from development. Important river basins have monitoring agencies deployed, but these can only mitigate the problem. After all, in the face of nature, human power is ultimately insignificant. TOP6, Maldives. Believe it or not, this world-famous vacation paradise could completely disappear in 60 years. As one of the countries most severely affected by global warming, seawater is gradually submerging the Maldives at a rate of 2 centimeters annually. Located in the central Indian Ocean, straddling the equator, comprising 1,190 islands, many islands less than a kilometer in diameter, like pearls scattered across the sea. Total population of 500,000, receiving about 1.5 million tourists annually. Many newlywed couples choose this as their top honeymoon destination. But unfortunately, over 80% of the Maldives' land is less than 1 meter above sea level. This means just a sea level rise of a few dozen centimeters could destroy the entire country. A netizen once poignantly commented that when they visited the Maldives over a decade ago, the vast beaches they saw now remain only as small sand dunes, with seawater reaching doorsteps. This proves how dangerous the Maldives' current situation is. To raise environmental awareness, the Maldivian government creatively held an underwater cabinet meeting to attract attention to climate issues. Additionally, they've prepared the solution plans. The first plan is buying land abroad and relocating. Countries like Sri Lanka, India, even Australia have been considered, but for various reasons, this approach is extremely difficult to implement. As for the second plan, it involves building coral reef-like floating cities on the sea. No matter how the sea level rises, the floating cities would rise with it. With breakwaters installed, they wouldn't worry about flooding. Their first floating city is planned for completion in 2027. At this point, some smart netizens might ask, if large-scale floating cities are built, wouldn't the freshwater problem that has long troubled the Maldives become even more serious? It seems no matter what remedial approach is chosen, the Maldives' future challenges will be major tests. TOP5, Alexandria. This is Egypt's second largest city and one of the most iconic ancient metropolises. For a long time, Alexandria has been known for its long ancient history, like the legendary Lighthouse of Alexandria and the Library of Alexandria. This city, founded by Alexander the Great in 331 BC, has withstood thousands of years of natural and human-made disasters. However, facing sea level rise and land subsidence, these two forces, this ancient capital has begun emitting desperate sounds. The pressure is too much. Most areas of the city are sinking at an alarming rate exceeding 3 millimeters annually. This phenomenon is increasingly exacerbated by human activities, especially dams upstream on the Nile. They block large amounts of natural sediment that once reinforced delta soil. On the other hand, the Mediterranean Sea's rising levels constantly threaten people. Since the 1960s, the ocean has advanced inland nearly to miles in this region. Iconic structures like the 19th century Rosetta Lighthouse have already disappeared underwater during flood events in 2015 and 2020. Elmax, one of the city's low-lying communities, had much of its infrastructure destroyed by floods. Even today, houses here are flooded again every winter. Residents can only helplessly watch their former homes repeatedly damaged. The UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has warned, by 2050, even in the most optimistic scenario, 1/3 of Alexandria's land will be submerged. Of its 6 million residents, up to 1.5 million will be forced to leave their homes. As the surface continues to sink, residents face a dilemma: whether to stay in a city that may soon become uninhabitable, or leave their homes to face an uncertain future. It's worth noting that even under such harsh conditions, Alexandria in the past decade has still added nearly 2 million residents. This undoubtedly makes the city's already difficult environment and living conditions even worse. TOP4, Kiribati. Kiribati is located in the vast Central Pacific, a small island nation composed of 31 raised coral island. Despite its wide distribution, Kiribati's total land area is only 812 square kilometers. Its highest point is just 2 meters above sea level. Once known for its idyllic scenery, palm trees, coral reefs, and clear blue waters, now it has become a typical example of sea level rise destruction. Every high tide, seawater floods most land areas. Residents must frequently relocate to escape the dangers of seawater. This almost forgotten country has a future that's extremely precarious. Since the 1990s, the sea level in this region has risen about 2 to 4 inches. These numbers translate into real changes in people's lives. Outer island villages have disappeared beneath the waves. Fresh water supplies are contaminated by seawater intrusion. Coastal erosion is devouring what little land remains. Residents live in homes soaked by seawater. Even furniture isn't spared. Their most important daily task is collecting coral from the shore, then piling it around their homes to block erosion from waves. Kiribati isn't like the Maldives or Venice. Located in the remote Central Pacific, infrastructure here is extremely basic. Economic conditions are very poor. The government naturally lacks funds to address the increasing dangers. According to authoritative data analysis, if current trends continue, in just 30 years, this island nation of about 130,000 people will completely disappear from the world. Moreover, this doesn't account for potential storms and tsunamis and other disasters. In 2014, Kiribati began negotiations with Fiji's government to purchase land for Kiribati, people perhaps the most desperate and only survival path they can choose. Top 3, Bangladesh. In the South Asian subcontinent lies the world's largest delta, the Ganges. The Ganges and Brahmaputra rivers converge here, covering over 100,000 square kilometers, equivalent to the size of South Korea, and Bangladesh sits at the center of this delta, thus facing threats common to all delta regions worldwide: floods and wave erosion. Bangladesh borders India on 3 sides: north, east, and west, borders Myanmar to the southeast, and faces the Bay of Bengal to the south. Hundreds of rivers crisscross the country, plus abundant rainfall from the southern monsoon, making water resources exceptionally rich. Because of this, Bangladesh, with just 147,000 square kilometers of land, supports 170 million people, making it the world's 8th most populous country. Ironically, these abundant rivers and plentiful rainfall are pushing the entire country toward an abyss. During the monsoon season from June to October, moist air currents from the Bay of Bengal bring rainfall stretching over 1,000 kilometers. The resulting river level surge regularly submerges about 30% of the country, destroying crops just before harvest. Over 3.5 million people face river flood risks annually. Typhoons also regularly devastate coastal areas. For example, Cyclone Amphan in 2020 displaced 2.5 million people. More deadly is that, as a low-lying delta country, Most of Bangladesh's coastal areas are only 1 or 2 meters above sea level. Storms and tides frequently push seawater inland, contaminating freshwater resources like wells and lakes, and turning once fertile land highly saline. No longer suitable for farming, according to projections. By 2050, with global sea levels rising 1 meter, by then, at least 20% of Bangladesh will be underwater. 20 million people will lose their homes. Such a massive population, facing an almost irreversible, desperate future. It's unimaginable. What horrific scene will unfold then? Top 2. Jakarta. As Indonesia's capital, this is Southeast Asia's largest city and the world's fastest sinking city. But if I told you, this is a city that Indonesians are literally drinking away, would you be surprised? Jakarta is located on Java's northwest coast, covering about 740 square kilometers, equivalent to 60% of Hong Kong's area. But in this not-so-large area, over 30 million people are crammed in. This is a terrifying statistic. 40% of the city is below sea level. The north is the hardest hit subsidence area, sinking over to 0.5 meters in 10 years. Some areas sinking 30 centimeters annually. At this rate, northern Jakarta will be completely submerged by 2040. Other areas are equally concerning. The west sinks 15 centimeters annually. The center sinks 2 centimeters annually. The south is least affected, sinking 1 centimeter annually. If you settle in Jakarta, after 6 months in your new home, you'll find cracked walls. But locals are no longer surprised by these subsidence effects. The direct cause of this situation is Jakarta residents frantically drilling water wells, despite its tropical rainforest climate, because 90% of the city's land is covered by concrete and asphalt. Rainwater cannot be absorbed by the soil. This means normal freshwater cycles no longer exist. Plus, factories lining riverbanks discharge all wastewater into rivers, causing all 13 of the city's intertwining waterways to become polluted. Therefore, whether developers seeking profit or residents just trying to survive, all are illegally tapping groundwater aquifers. It's like a giant cushion hidden underground. If this cushion is rapidly drying out, while skyscrapers rise one after another, Jakarta's sinking is inevitable. From videos shared by netizens, we can see the sea level in northern Jakarta almost overflows the roads. Facing this situation, the Indonesian government decided in 2024 to relocate the capital, moving it directly to Nusantara. But no matter where they move, if they don't solve the most basic urban infrastructure problems, this tragedy will only repeat itself again and again. TOP1 Tuvalu. This could be the world's first country to disappear due to rising sea levels. Tuvalu, an island nation in Oceania, just 26 square kilometers in total, with a population of only about 12,000. But because its country domain happens to be TV, Tuvalu earns about $8 million annually just by selling domain names. But the trouble they're facing now clearly can't be solved with money. According to NASA and UN scientific predictions, by 2050, half of Tuvalu's territory will be completely submerged. It's already the world's 4th smallest country, composed of 9 atoll islands, with an average elevation of just 2 meters. Over the past 30 years, Tuvalu's sea level has risen 14 centimeters. 2 of the 9 islands are already under tidal waters. At this rate of development, Tuvalu will become the world's first country to disappear due to natural disaster. The cause of this outcome is partly global climate warming, and on the other hand, its unique geographical location. As we know, seawater has thermal expansion effects. The common expansion with heat, contraction with cold. As heat increases, seawater volume expands, naturally causing it to rise. But this rising process isn't uniform. Seawater in equatorial regions absorbs more heat, expanding more rapidly. Additionally, trade winds over the Pacific push the warmest surface water from South America toward the Western Pacific, forming the Western Pacific Warm Pool, making this one of the global ocean's highest water temperature regions. Coincidentally, Tuvalu sits right at the center of this region. Plus, over the past 20 years, extreme weather has increased. Tuvalu's waters remain in high-level cycles, so its submersion has become inevitable. Facing this outcome, the Tuvalu government hasn't chosen to wait passively. They've reached an agreement with Australia beginning June 2025. They'll send up to 180 people annually to Australia, providing them with legal permanent residency. Selection will be through a lottery system, meaning the only way to quickly leave Tuvalu is to test your luck.